What is going on, guys? Welcome back to another beautiful installment of Off the Bench with Scotty and Corey. I am Scotty. That is Corey. How are we doing tonight, partner?
Man, we're doing great. It is a wonderful, beautiful day here in the southern part of America. How are you doing?
Brother, I am finer than frog hair. Had a long day at work, but excited to be debriefing some week one football with you, my friend.
Dude, it's been a slow but quick week, and again, happy to be here with you.
Yeah, always happy to be here with you, man. Let's jump straight into it. Let's go straight into our first game. The Miami Dolphins visiting the Indianapolis Colts, and holy cow, who was this Daniel Jones guy?
I can tell you one thing: the Giants don't know who that man was. That's for sure. That's for true. I mean, you look at him: 75.9% completion rating, 272 passing yards, one touchdown, and to add on to it, two more rushing touchdowns. This guy came from the Giants and said, "Watch me work." Like, you guys couldn't do what I needed to be done. I'm going to go somewhere and they're going to give me weapons, give me everything I need to succeed. And the Giants probably told him, "Yeah, right, dude." And he came to Indy and said, "Look, I'm him." And
Watch the
he
college
was on Sunday. He was definitely him.
Absolutely, absolutely. Same front office that fumbled Saquon Barkley, by the way. Remember
Yeah.
that, y'all. Like that front office has notoriety of fumbling good players. Um, but speaking of his weapons, Jonathan Taylor, 18 carries, 71 yards. Michael Pittman, six receptions, 80 yards, and that beautiful touchdown rolled him right into the end zone. It was as beautiful a pass as I've ever seen him throw. Let's talk about the other side of the ball, though, partner. Tua, how concerning was this performance from Tua Tagovailoa? Only 114 yards, a touchdown, but two interceptions in this game.
I mean, if you are the Miami Dolphins, you got to be a little worried. I mean, you have two ways to go about it. You got to be either a little worried or you have to not worry at all. Now, it is the beginning of the season. You got that week one rust you're getting off because the off season, as you know, it's not full contact most of the time, and if it is, it's nothing like playing the pressure of another team. So, these starters, they have a lot of rest. They have a lot of time to like just get kind of stiff. Whereas you come to week one, and as we can see across the multitude of last week's games, they're all close. They're all they're relatively close at least. And this particular game does not fit into that category. But most games are relatively close in the manner that kind of speaks like, hey, they all got these week one jitters, this week one rust. They're still getting off. So, like I said, you have the you're either worried or you're not. And if I'm the front office of the Dolphins, I'm not as worried as I should be. Now, if it happens again in week two and week three, then I'm looking to put the backup in, maybe give him some reps, or see what else can be put forward here, because one touchdown and two interceptions just isn't going to do it. I mean, even with Achane, 7 carries, 55 yards, 7.9 average, that's just not going to do it. It's not going to cut it. Tyreek Hill, 40 yards. There was definitely something going wrong there, in my opinion. So, again, I wouldn't be worried until it happens, until, in week 2 or 3.
Absolutely, absolutely. Notable lack of performance from the wide receivers, as a matter of fact, in what I would consider garbage time, down 30-0 to his only touchdown on an 11-yard pass to Devon Achane. So But I'm with you. I'm with you, partner. And if you look at the games, even the games that don't look close on the scoreboard, if you watched any of those games, any of the highlights, they felt close on the field. Just a
Mhm.
couple of plays really separating those games. This game did not feel like that. Total domination from the Colts from the time that they blew the whistle to start the game till the time that they finally hit triple zeros in the fourth quarter, and Miami was crying uncle. But I'm with you on a couple of things. I'm not worrying about Tua at the moment. Um, week one rust. He's a veteran. He usually bounces back. Uh, can't really say a whole lot about the playoffs, but he usually bounces back. He usually finds midseason form pretty quickly. Um, but if I see repeat performances like this, especially in weeks 2 and week 4, I don't see them truly contending with the Buffalo Bills. That's a Bills team that hung 41 points on the Ravens, which we'll get to a little later in the night. But if if Tua plays like this against a ravaged New England secondary,
Mhm.
which we'll get to that in a little bit as well, and against a New York Jets defense that gave up 34 points to Aaron Rodgers and company in week one, then I start to worry a little bit. Then I start to look at, okay, maybe Zach Wilson, maybe even the rookie Quinn Ewers out of Texas. Uh, but and I'm with you until it's week 3 or 4 and we don't have any wins. That's when I worry from the Dolphins front office.
Absolutely. And like I said, I agree with that. I agree with that 100% because it's not really an issue just yet. I mean, it is, but it's like it's more of like on the back burner of problems because again, it's week one jitters, week one rust, getting back into the swing of things. Now, even with all that said, it is still a very poor performance, but we'll see what happens in week 2 and 3.
You are correct. Moving on, let's go into now the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and Atlanta Falcons. In Atlanta, I told you guys, starting this season, Emeka Ibuka is going to be NFL Offensive Rookie of the Year, and the kid showed out. Received 2 touchdown passes of Baker Mayfield's 3, had 4 catches, 67 yards. Let's go through the full stat line real quick. Leading rusher Baker Mayfield. It was not a very high rushing game in this game. As a matter of fact, there were 170 total rush yards in this game. Baker Mayfield led the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 5 carries, 39 yards, and Tyler Algier on the other side, 10 carries, 24 yards was the rushing leader. Bijan Robinson, 6 receptions out of the backfield, 100 yards, and Michael Penix's lone touchdown. Penix balled out. There were some questionable things happening in this game. Some probably what a lot of Falcons fans will call questionable penalties. Um, but outside of that, a very well contested game and a game that should have ended in overtime. But reliable Younghoe Koo missing a field goal in the final seconds. That it blew my mind. It blew my mind. Um, but I enjoyed watching this game overall. I feel like it was played very well, both sides. I feel like the Falcons executed more of what they wanted to on offense, but the Bucks they're scrappy and they're veteran and they're just good at what they do and pulled out this win. What do you think, partner? How did you see this game?
I think we both agreed on, I believe it was Saturday, that it was going to be a score of 2023. Maybe a little difference. Might be missing a few points there. But the game was great. Very close game. I love close games. You see intensity from both sides of the ball on close games. And you just kind of get to see what a team's made of in close games. Who's going to pull out, all the stops? Who's going to step up? And unfortunately, Reliable and Younghoe Koo did not. And as I was watching the end of the game, I really thought that game was going into overtime, especially once that young man stepped on the field. Visible, visible emotions from him at the end of the game, throwing his helmet. I mean, he gets it. Now, I won't pin all the pressure on him because you can't really pin the pressure on a man who can only make 3 points. It's kind of like it's a team thing. He shouldn't have been in the position to force a kick like that, but at the same time, that is his main job. So I can understand the frustration from him. I can understand the him being upset. But good game overall. I will say that there is I got the word on Chris Godwin. He will likely return in Week 5, which will hopefully help out this Buccaneers offense and that wide receiver room, which did not look bad at all towards the end of that game. Again, Emeka Egbuka and Mike Evans, a wonderful pairing. Emeka Egbuka had 4 receptions, 67 yards, 2 touchdowns on 6 targets. His longest reception was 30 yards. And then Mike Evans, 5 receptions, 51 yards, 8 targets. And his longest was 14 yards. So, again, they did amazing as far as what they had. Great game. Loved it.
Let's talk one thing that kept this game closer than it should have been, and that was the missed extra point at the end of this game. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers score a touchdown with 59 seconds left in the game, and then the missed extra point keeps this a 3-point game. Instead of needing the touchdown, the Falcons, in a very fortunate position, go down, get within field goal range, behind a left-handed Michael back in Atlanta. I know my old school Michael Vick fans are happy to see a guy like Michael Penix in Atlanta. It's awesome. He performed well, but
he did great.
Just the missed kick by Koo kind of saved Chase McLaughlin's rear end there a little bit.
Yeah, at the end of the game when he missed that, you could definitely see the head coach's happiness pour onto his face for the Buccaneers. It was good to see. And that missed field goal, again, I have mixed feelings against that, man. More leaning towards, like, that's your only job is to kick field goals. Now, Younghoe Koo had definitely had a better reason to, miss it. It being further away. Again, it's a kick well within his range, but you have an extra point that you're going to kick all season long. That's one of those things that last season really plagued Washington was the kicker position. They just had no one to kick a field goal, and especially in tough situations. And I'm hoping that this is just a one and done, one every now and again kind of thing, because again it's extra point, but it could turn out to be something that plagues them.
Absolutely. Head coach Todd Bowles visibly happy when Younghoe Koo misses that kick. Head coach Raheem Morris for the Atlanta Falcons visibly upset. You want a division game like this. You want to win those. You want to at least keep it into the 5th quarter if you have the opportunity. Just a miss there. It's unfortunate, but we will see this matchup again in Week 15. It'll be crunch time then. That's also a Thursday night matchup, December 11th. They will be visiting Tampa Bay for their second matchup. But let's really quick look at the next few games for the Atlanta Falcons, and I don't see a lot of promise in these games. They have Week 2 at Minnesota, they have Week 3 at Carolina, and Week 4 at Washington for their very early bye in Week 5.
I don't like to see teams have bye weeks that early. It really sucks. I feel like a bye week in Week 13, Week 12 even, Week 11, those kind of bye weeks are kind of like a reset button, kind of like a chance to kind of come back in the season and just kind of push to finish out the season stronger than you started it, and kind of build up to what you're going to be. These early bye weeks, man, it's just too early of a reset. You're not really going yet. You're not really getting. You're just now getting things meshed together to where you want them to be, only to have a bye week. And yeah, I guess you can mesh together a little more, but you're not going to be able to see what works in real time until that point. I just don't think you have enough time to get going with those early bye weeks.
Here's the only positive that I can take away from them having a bye week as early as they do, and that is the litany of players that they have with minor or lingering injuries. 2 wide receivers with shoulder injuries, Casey Washington with a concussion. We have 2 safeties on the injury report and a linebacker, and Tyrone Wheatley Jr. just hit IR. So getting healthy would be a big thing. I think this actually benefits the Atlanta Falcons. However, I don't see them winning at least 2 of those games. But we can review those as we get into our pick'ems on Saturday. But moving on, let's move right along to our most over and underrated game of this week's slate. I did not see the Cincinnati Bengals letting this game be as close as they did. I did not see the Browns almost stealing this victory. Joe Burrow's stat line was, we'll call it pedestrian. 14 of 23, 113 yards, 1 touchdown. Chase Brown, pedestrian performance, 21 of 43 with a tutty. And T. Higgins, leading receiver in that game, 3 receptions, 33 yards for the Cincinnati Bengals. Joe Flacco, I feel like, kind of overperformed his expectations, sans the 2 picks. He did throw 2 interceptions in this game. Not a lot on the rushing front for either team. A combined 95 rushing yards in this game. The Bengals only mustered up 141 total yards in this contest at 2.9 per play. And they managed to pull this out thanks to some very fortunate Joe Flacco turnovers. So I feel like the Cincinnati Bengals just found a way to scrap this game out. The Browns had a chance in this game, being up in the third quarter, 16-14, about halfway through. That's when Joe Flacco hit Cedric Tillman on a 5-yard pass for his only touchdown of the game, followed by an Evan McPherson 35-yard field goal to put the Bengals out front permanently. What did you see in this contest that made it not what either of us expected?
Honestly, I think it was just defense. I think the defense played a big part in both sides of this game. I think maybe Joe Burrow possibly had, again, one of those week 1 jitters, that rust, which you don't see from a high caliber guy like that, but it is not uncommon. It's uncommon, but it's not impossible. So I think just, again, another one of those cases of the week 1 rust coming off. I don't think in their next meeting it will be nearly as close, but I could be wrong yet again. Defense, again, you have Myles Garrett on the other side of that ball, and you can never count him out. One of the top 5 edge rushers in the league. So, I mean, constant pressure all afternoon from him, forcing Joe Burrow to get the ball out quicker, forcing, and he got 3 sacks, or got sacked 3 times. Joe Burrow did. So, I mean, you look at both sides of the ball, and like you said, Joe Flacco just outplayed what many people thought was possible. He outplayed Joe Burrow. 31 completions for 290 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions, and 2 sacks, or got sacked twice, with Joe Burrow's 14 completions, 113 yards, and 1 touchdown. Now, there is something here, a notable stat to look at here. Joe Burrow only threw the ball 23 times, whereas Joe Flacco threw the ball 45 times. So I'm not sure what the stat is on who had the ball longer, but it's looking like the Browns definitely had the ball much more than the Bengals did. And yet the Bengals still squeaked away with a Week 1 win. And I do mean squeaked away by 1 point.
Absolutely. Time of possession in that game, 35 minutes and 49 seconds favoring the Cleveland Browns. They better third down efficiency, better fourth down efficiency, ran 22 more plays. They only punted the ball twice. That, I think, is another key stat. Penalties helped keep Browns' possessions alive. Penalties also killed Browns' possessions in a couple of instances in this game. But if you're looking at team stats, they doubled up the Bengals in first downs, had better efficiency on third and fourth down, ran more plays, allowed less sacks, punted less, and had the ball for 11 minutes, almost 12 minutes longer, and found a way to lose this game.
Leave it to the Browns. Now, there is a notable...
Series...
Oh, sorry,
go ahead.
There is a notable thing to look at here, and it's a significant jump for the Cleveland Browns. Their last meeting ended with the Bengals winning 24-6 on December 21st of last year. And just a notable difference here, again, 17-16. I think it was a lot with the defense. And as you said, maybe the refs played a little bit of a part there. And again, you got to give credit where credit is due. And Joe Flacco did exactly that. He came in and he showed what he's still worth. I mean, he's not the Joe Flacco of the Ravens, but he's still, got some left in the tank at his ripe old age. So it was a good game. Again, I like close games, and just further backs my point of the Week 1 rust.
Absolutely. And this series between the Browns and Bengals, it comes to a close in Week 18. They bookend the season this year. That game does not have an announced time or network. That is a flex game. So if they're both in playoff contention around the end of the season, this could very well be a Thursday or Monday night game. Who knows? The next 3 opponents for our losing Cleveland Browns, the Baltimore Ravens, coming up on Sunday. Then they have the Green Bay Packers at home, and then they travel to Detroit to take on the Lions in Week 4. So not exactly an easy slate of games in front of the Cleveland Browns. It's not looking like the most positive start for that organization. Moving along here, let's talk about our next slated game, and that is the Jacksonville Jaguars beating their counterparts, the Carolina Panthers, 26-10. What did you see here, my friend?
Well, the stats give it away. Bryce Young, wonderful he's talented young man, yet to find his footing in Carolina over the last couple of years. He has been there. 18 completions for 35 yards, or 18 completions out of 35 for 154 yards. He's averaging 4.4 yards per completion. He had 1 touchdown. He got sacked once and threw 2 interceptions. Unfortunately, interceptions and giving the ball away. Technically, I guess he would have 21 completions. Just 2 were to the other team. Hey, you're wearing black uniforms, not the white ones on the field. He had a QB rating of 49. And let's look at the rushing here just to kind of further push the point here. He had 40 yards rushing on 5 attempts as well. Hubbard also had 16 carries for 57 yards. Not much really going on. The longest pass that I see is 27 yards to Hubbard from Bryce Young, and that's the longest pass of the game, and it's to the running back. So, I don't see how the Panthers are going to move forward here. I don't know if they change quarterbacks. I don't know what they do on that side of the ball. Defense-wise, again, not the greatest, allowing 26 points this game. In their previous matchup, they went 26 and they went 0-26 for their last game in December 30th of 2023. The Jaguars won 26-0. Let's go to the Jaguars side of the ball.
Absolutely. So on this side of the ball, we have a steady performance. I'll call it a steady performance from Trevor Lawrence. Beautiful golden locks out here, 19 of 31 for 178 yards, a touchdown, and a turnover. I think what stands out the most is this next stat line, and that is Travis Etienne Jr., 16 carries and 143 yards. The astounding thing for me is that the Jacksonville Jaguars rushed for more yards than they passed for. They had 200 rushing yards in this game, 178 passing yards. Fun fact, little brother Trevor Etienne on the other side of the field playing for the Carolina Panthers. So, interesting little family tie there. But let's dive a little deeper. We do have the one touchdown. That touchdown is to Hunter Long. On the pass, we did have a Brian Thomas Jr. sweep for a touchdown as well in this game. But if I'm giving a game ball out for this contest, it goes to Cam Little, the field goal kicker, as he made 4 of them. So Cam Little was the difference in this game. Let's take a deeper look here at stats for the Jacksonville Jaguars. We had Tank Bigsby rushing 5 times for 12 yards, and Trevor Lawrence also following up on that 4 for 12 as well. The receiving game was very interesting. Brenton Strange led the wide receivers, led the receivers, 4 for 59, averaging 14.8. Our boy De'Ami Brown down there catching 3 balls for 52 yards. Travis Hunter on this side of the ball catching 6 passes for 33 yards. So a lot of interest in this game.
I do want to touch on Travis Hunter just real quick. If this game is any indication as to what he is going to be, he will be a wide receiver. Now, he did play both sides of the ball, but he only played 6 snaps on defense and played 44 on offense in the wide receiver position. Now, as you said, in those 44 snaps, he had 6 receptions for 33 yards. But I do think that he will most likely do the same thing, taper into the defense a little bit. But I'm seeing that they are definitely using him more as a wide receiver as of late.
I think that is by need. They genuinely have a better defense than the Carolina Panthers, and I think they will play him dynamically as he is needed once they're more comfortable in the rest of the wide receiver room. Sans Brian Thomas Jr. Obviously, he's a stud. You love the kid. He does his thing every time he goes out there. LSU product, very fun to watch. I want to focus more on the Carolina Panthers roster, and is there a point, given Bryce Young's record in the NFL as the number 1 overall pick in 2023's NFL draft, when do you turn the ball over to Andy Dalton? Because last year we saw them turn the ball over to Andy Dalton, and that offense was scoring and it was rolling, and then there were times where it would hit a lull with him as well. When do we look inward? does this organization have the same kind of thing that Washington was suffering with poor ownership? Because I hear a lot of rumbling from Carolina Panthers fans that David Tepper is not the ideal owner, especially after the transaction in Washington and the glow up that has happened in the capital city since then. But where does this game leave this franchise as a whole, in your opinion? Because I don't know that I trust the moves that the front office and ownership are making.
Well, I'll tell you this, just to backstep a little bit. I think you start to look outward for quarterback. As you said, Bryce Young's record as of his time in the NFL is not the greatest. It's very poor. I think, number one, the biggest move you can make, stop starting him, first of all. If he just can't get it done, no matter how many chances you give him, there's a time you stop playing the kid. As you and also,
Bryce Young as a starter in the NFL started 30 games. He has a 6-24 record in the NFL. So there's something that's going on within the franchise, or within him somehow coming out of a Nick Saban offense into this. I don't know where there's not a translation.
See, that's another thing right there. Is you're coming from a wonderful coaching front office from college to this, and again, you can, in my opinion, what you do, start Andy next week, start Andy for a couple of weeks. If the ball is rolling, keep Andy playing. If the ball stops rolling for multiple weeks with Andy playing, maybe you take a look again and iterate again. But you definitely trade or get rid of Bryce Young in some way. Now, in my opinion, you trade him. You send him to maybe a team that has a better front office, a better coaching staff, maybe. Just something else to where he can go be who he is meant to be, because it's either him or it's that coaching crew, or it's the front office, the owner, the general manager, maybe even the head coach. It could be any of these things, but that's my stance on it. I think you trade the kid, start Andy for a little while, and it doesn't work out, trade Andy too, maybe even trade them both as a package and try to get someone you'd like, someone has a history of doing good at that position. Now, as to who you would go for, I have no idea. But they need to figure something else out in that locker room for him.
I think if you're looking outward into the streets to address the quarterback issue in Carolina there, I have no problem floating a name like Jeff Driscoll out there, who has backed up some of the best quarterbacks that the NFL has offered over the past 20 years. Jeff Driscoll backed up Andrew Luck. He also backed up our good friend Jaden Daniels and Marcus Mariota last year in the capital city, and absolutely killed it in the preseason last year. And anytime he was handed the ball, Jeff, consummate professional, knows what he's doing, operates well within any system, very football IQ savvy guy. I like that move. I had a lot of faith in Dave Canellis, head coach for the Carolina Panthers, when he was hired for this move, and I had a lot of faith in them keeping him for his second season and what that would do being an offensive-minded guy. I had a lot of faith in what that would do for Bryce Young as a quarterback. I think the issue is deeper. I think they're not making the right personnel moves. I think the front office looks clumsy sometimes. The trade package that they gave for the pick that became Bryce Young was absolutely insane. If you go back and you look at that trade, actually, let me pull it up here because it is a doozy. It is a doozy.
Yeah, like you said, Jeff Driscoll is a guy who has backed up some of the greatest names that has played the quarterback position. Andrew Luck. Andrew Luck was an amazing quarterback. Jaden Daniels last year, fantastic. Might be a little biased, but he was amazing, in my personal opinion. Professional, even. But I like the idea of going outside instead of continuously trying to fix a broken thing on the inside without looking outward. I think you can fix it. I just think it takes some time going outside of that.
Absolutely. Now let's dive into this trade package that became the lone pick in Bryce Young. Just to name a few names here that were included in that trade. That trade included DJ Moore, wide receiver, who is an absolute stud, for quarterback Caleb Williams, which came out of that. Offensive tackle Darnell Wright, who is still starting up there, and cornerback Tyreek Stevenson, all starters up there in the Windy City in Chicago. I don't know that haul, especially with C.J. Stroud sitting there at number 2. If you look at it apples to apples, the clear difference for the 2023 draft class, it is C.J. Stroud way up here. No, I'm not saying that as far as talent. I'm just saying that as far as production in the NFL. Kid comes in, has a winning season his first year in on what was one of the worst rosters in the NFL at the time. And Bryce Young, who has performed very subpar, in my opinion, in that organization in Carolina. So at some point, I do see them moving on. Do I see them trading Bryce? I don't see that. But if they look for veteran leadership outside of that quarterback room now, I think a name like Jeff Driscoll would fit. And they don't have an easy road ahead of them coming up. Their next 2 games are Arizona. They are going to Arizona. The Carolina Panthers are. That is a 3:05 or a 4:05 game Eastern time on CBS. We will review that on Saturday. Then they come back home to face division rival Atlanta, and then they head to New England over the next 3 games. So they don't have they don't have an easy way about it for the next few games either.
No, that's definitely a tougher schedule, especially here in the early part of the season. Only to have to worry about, more injuries, that quarterback room, and that organization as a whole.
Yeah, I think that it's a very tight race for last place in the NFC South between the Carolina Panthers and the New Orleans Saints. But speaking of the Carolina Panthers' Week 4 opponent, let's parlay into our next game, and that is the Las Vegas Raiders defeating the New England Patriots 20-13. What did you see here?
Dude, I was surprised. Sort of. Now, Geno Smith is my boy, WVU guy, from WVU myself. Big fan of Mountaineer football.
Go Herd.
Anyway.
Randy Moss, baby. Just know that.
Yeah, I think the greatest thing that's happened to WVU is like Pat McAfee. So.
Yeah, Chad Pennington and Randy Moss.
Anyhow, Geno Smith, wonderful guy. Love Geno, but I almost was rooting for Drake May in this. They both played fantastic games. Drake May, 30 for 46 for 287 yards. He had 1 touchdown, 1 interception, and the defense was all over this man. 4 sacks in this game. And just to give you the stat line here of who was messing up Drake May, you have, I'm going to screw up his name. It's Kuntz. Williams had 2. Holmes had 1. And I'm assuming some of these are assisted sacks and such. But the defense was all over this man's backfield. And honestly, I think it's more of a, I don't know if it's more of a defensive thing. I think it's more of like an offensive line. But he still did great. Again, 287 yards. Geno Smith had 24 completions, 24 completions out of 34 attempts, 362 yards. And again, the defense was all over his backfield as well. 4 sacks, an interception, and Geno threw a touchdown while also rushing twice for 10 yards. No touchdowns there. On the Raiders side of the ball, you see Ashton Jeanty, the rookie, getting 19 carries for 38 yards and a touchdown on his debut in the NFL. And Brock Bowers, which is a little bit of a story at the moment. I haven't checked on it since Monday. 5 receptions, 103 yards for 8 targets. Now, here is the issue here. Again, haven't checked on it, but Brock Bowers left that game in the fourth quarter with a knee injury. I do believe he is still questionable. I do believe he is still questionable in that one. But just an all-around good game.
Head coach Pete Carroll is saying that he is day-to-day with that knee injury.
Good. And the man who wanted to be traded at just before the season started, Jakobi Meyers, 8 receptions, 97 yards on 10 targets. His longest was 24, and he had 41 yards after the catch. I mean, just an outstanding showing by the Las Vegas Raiders. And I think as the season goes on, they are going to do better and better, getting used to Geno Smith, getting used to his receivers, which it kind of seems like he already is with 362 passing yards. I like this team. I think they're a good contending team. What do you think?
If you look at this matchup from the outside, and I'll get to the Patriots stats here in just a moment. My guy Drake May out of the University of North Carolina, go Heels. But if you look at this stat line, this is one of the most balanced games that we saw all weekend. There was only a 53-yard discrepancy in total yards. Very even down the board if you look at it. 28 first downs for the Raiders, 18 for the Patriots. Both teams struggled mightily on third down. 5 of 13 for the Raiders, 4 of 14 for the Patriots. Both teams converted a fourth down. 62 total plays on the Raiders side, 68 for the Patriots. 4 sacks apiece, 5 punts for Las Vegas, 6 for New England. Each had a turnover, and time of possession favored the Patriots by 10 seconds. 30 minutes and 5 seconds was the time of possession for the New England Patriots. So this game was as balanced as you'll see in a game. Very tightly contested. Played very well by both sides. Drake May carrying a stat line of 30 completions on 46 attempts, 287 yards, the touchdown, the interception. Trayvon Henderson, that absolute monster of a running back out of the Ohio State University, 5 attempts, 27 yards. Running back by committee in this one a lot. Neither team's really rushed the ball for a lot. 56 yards for Las Vegas, 60 for New England. So not heavy impact there. I'm genuinely surprised to see this guy at the bottom of the list. Antonio Gibson had 1 attempt for 3 yards. Oh, how the mighty have fallen since he has decided that Washington was not the team for him. Receiving, Keyshawn Bout playing absolutely lights out on the outside for Drake May. 6 receptions, 103 yards, 17.2 average. Hunter Henry playing really well. Stephon Diggs, who I expected to have a better game. 6 receptions, 57 yards, 9.5 yards on average. but the defense played really well. Harold Landry with 2.5 sacks, Jalen Hawkins with a sack and an interception. So the defense played well over here on this side as well. I'm not genuinely surprised that this game was low scoring as it was. I think we both had this as a low scoring game in our predictions on Saturday. So you love to see games like this. I'm a defensive guy myself. I used to be so heavy into offense when I was younger, but as I've grown, I've developed a fondness for defense, and I would rather see a 20-13, 20-17 game, unless of course it's Washington, and then I want to see 52-7 all day.
Trying to get them Colt versus Miami numbers.
That's it. But I fell in love with the dynamic of this game. I thought it was very well played by both sides. Obviously, some things each side can clean up. We don't want the turnovers. Granted, there was only one turnover per team, so not super big. But I enjoyed the dynamic of this game, and I'm excited to see what Geno does this year. I'm also excited to see what this Patriots offense does once it gets rolling. I think they implement the rush game a little bit more, and these teams could be dynamite to watch for the duration of the season.
The thing that I want to see the most out of these two teams, and these two teams in particular, is more protection up front. There is no reason that there should be 4 sacks on the quarterback each game. I feel like that is a very gratuitous number. Don't like that. I don't think that's the right word either, but we'll go with it. But it's just not a good number for me. 4 sacks on both sides of the ball. Very even in terms of stats. Very close game. Again, separated by a field goal in the fourth. The third quarter was what really sealed the deal for this game. The Raiders outscored them 10-0 in the third quarter, and that's what really sold the game for the Raiders. But again, an all-out good game. If there is nothing else, moving forward to the Arizona game.
One really quick thing. The upcoming slate of games for the New England Patriots over the next 3 weeks. They have what I feel is a bounce-back game against the Miami Dolphins. I expect that to be a good game, but I feel it's going to be a lot more New England-sided, even though they will be in Miami. They have Week 3 against the Pittsburgh Steelers, and then Week 4 with the hosting the Carolina Panthers. But let's move on to the Arizona game. I'm excited to see what your thought on this matchup was. I thought the Cardinals had this game in hand earlier on, but those Saints, they are scrappy.
Yeah, them Saints, they don't go down without a fight. In the first quarter, there was 3 possessions, and only one of them ended in a score, which was the Cardinals. They ended with a field goal. They had 14 plays for 39 yards, and their time with the ball was 5 minutes and 31 seconds. You hate to see something like that happen, especially at the beginning of your first week in your first game of the season. You spend so much time driving down the field, and you can only end it in a field goal. Now, the stats for this one, they're not the greatest. This is one of those games, man, that you just... I'll be honest, I skimmed over it. I looked at the matchup. It's not one of those games that's really intriguing to me unless you are a fan of one of these two teams. Now, and I think that will be the case for the remainder of the season for these two teams. As far as they go into playing, I just don't see any games that's just gonna pop out with either of these two teams in it, unless it is something that I think that one of these two teams is going to get blown out of the water. Then I might stop in. But for Kyler Murray, he had 21 completions for 29 attempts, 163 yards, and 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. But that Saints defense was all over his backfield with 5 sacks. He threw it to Tyler Benson for 8 attempts. He caught it 8 times, 69 yards. His longest was 52 yards at once. Let's see. Oh, that was rushing. I'm so sorry. That was a rushing stat. 8 attempts, 69 yards. I read that completely wrong.
Trey Benson toting the rock there, folks.
Oh, 100%. And his backup in, I don't know his first name, but Mr. Connors had 12 attempts, 39 yards. And none other than Kyler Murray in the rushing as well. 7 attempts, 38 yards. His longest was 13. Moving on to receiving, the rookie last year, Marvin Harrison. 5 receptions, 71 yards on 6 targets for a touchdown. And again, his longest was 45 yards. You love to see a game where the highest rusher rushed for rushed more on one attempt than one got caught. You know, the old joke is Paul Revere said, land or sea. Nope, this one was definitely land. It didn't go by air, that's for sure. This one was, again, Trey Benson. His longest was a 52-yard run. Insane number. Moving on down to, let's see here. We have the kicker. He made 2 field goals on 3 attempts. He missed 1. You'd love to see that one. And his longest of that day was a 50-yard field goal, and that's the one he put through. Punter punted 1 for 60 yards. Good punt. What is going on the other side of the ball, my friend?
So over here with the Saints, we have what I feel is a better showing than a lot of even Saints faithful expected out of Spencer Rattler. Now, granted, he did miss 19 passes, but he carries this stat line. 27 of 46, 214 yards, no touchdowns, but more importantly, and I think this is a testament to how Kellen Moore has ran that offense to this point. No interceptions. The ball was not in a lot of danger all game. And we know that Arizona defense has some players on. They do. On the rushing side, we have Old Faithful Alvin Kamara, 11 carries, 45 yards, a 4.1 average, and a touchdown getting into the end zone. Spencer Rattler, 4 carries himself, 29 yards. Kondre Miller carrying the ball 5 times for 24 yards. And Devin Neal toting the rock twice, 9 yards there. The receiving distribution was pretty fair. This is kind of how I saw the receiving being broken down. Although I thought it would be Chris Olave then Juwan Johnson, but Juwan Johnson leading the receivers room, 8 receptions, 76 yards. Chris Olave behind him, 7 for 54. Rashid Shaheed, old trusty down there in New Orleans, was Derek Carr's favorite receiver for a few years in the black and gold down there. He carried this stat line, 6 of 33 and a 5.5 average. Brandon Cooks getting 3 receptions, 26 yards. Good to see a guy like Brandon Cooks just hanging out there in the league, still making an impact. But I want to talk about this defense. 5 sacks of Kyler Murray in a losing effort. I feel like if the offense comes around, this defense is going to be a nightmare for a lot of teams. Pete Werner picking up a sack, Carl Granderson and Cameron Jordan each a sack and a half, and Alontae Taylor picking up a sack of his own. We love to see those numbers. Blake Group missed a field goal. 2 of 3. His long was 36. Accounted for 7 of their 13 points. And Kai Kruger, 4 punts. 202 yards. He was averaging 50 and a half yards per punt. And pinned them inside the 20 twice. So it's not the same feeling with this 20-13 game that I really got with Las Vegas and New England, where I felt like both teams were just a play away from something incredible happening. Uh, this felt more like a struggle on both sides of the ball for both the Arizona Cardinals and the New Orleans Saints. Do I like things that each team did? Yes, absolutely. I thought the Saints defense played amazing, especially considering some of the age on that side of the ball, both old and young. But I also feel like the Cardinals offense kind of underachieved with some of the players that they have on that offense. A little bit of an underwhelming performance from guys like James Conner and Zay Jones and even tight end Greg Dortch. You don't want to see those things. But I'm not super hateful of this game. I feel like both teams are just a little bit away from being way better than what they are now. Um, it's not looking promising for the New Orleans Saints going into their next three games, though. They have San Francisco at home, and then they travel across the country for week 3 to Seattle, and then they travel to Western New York in week 4 to take on the Buffalo Bills. So if they're going to figure it out, they got to figure it out fast.
Now
That's
for the
not
Cardinals,
an easy slate.
the Cardinals have a game that I think can really decide what their thing is going to be. They had the Panthers in week 2. Unfortunately for them, it gets harder from there with the Niners week 3 and Seahawks week 4. Again, stepping back down on week 5, back down to Tennessee. I think those are, there's a couple of games in this. Unfortunately for them, if everything stays the same for Daniel Jones, week 6 will suck for them. I feel bad for any team playing Indianapolis this year. If Daniel Jones continues to do that, for sure. I just want to point out that the last episode we did, I was the biggest Daniel Jones hater you could have talked to. But that man heard it, apparently, and said, "Hey, Corey, watch this." And I did. I watched it. I was like, who in the heck is this dude?
Like, I knew Danny had wheels. I knew he was going to get his rushes. I did not think both of his rushes would be 1-yard touchdowns. That arm, and I will admit my faults as well. I was a skeptic of Daniel Jones. I mentioned to you that Daniel Jones was the quarterback there in Indianapolis, and you were like, immediately flip the switch. Indy's not winning this game because of what we saw in New York.
Absolutely.
The detriment of the New York Giants front office, and this is no knock on head coach Brian Daboll or his staff. I like the staff in New York when they're not in New York. But I think that ownership and front office do not have good player relationships. And I think when you now have 2 instances with Saquon Barkley going to the Eagles, showing out 2,000 yards, Super Bowl champion, and then the next year you ship off Daniel Jones and he lands in Indianapolis and does that week 1. It's a scary thing.
Absolutely. And moving on to the Steelers versus the Jets, a game that was, the game of 2 quarterbacks who got intertwined, traded to each other. Aaron Rodgers coming off of, an Achilles injury 2 years ago, a not so great season last year, and then coming into the Steelers versus the Jets, this man, and I quote, said, "I wanted to ruin everything and beat everyone that had anything to do with the Jets organization." He said it felt great because they from my understanding, they did not like Aaron. They thought he was a waste of time, waste of money. So it was nice to see him come out here and prove them all wrong. 22 for 30 attempts and passing. That is 73.3% completion rating, 244 yards, and 4 touchdowns while getting 4 sacks from that other side of the ball. I mean, this dude came in and he literally just wanted to beat the heck out of the Jets. There were 7 lead changes in this game. I mean, and the funny thing is, their tight end Pat Freiermuth was not the big guy last Sunday. 3 receptions, 28 yards on 3 targets. So he was not their guy last Sunday. But DK Metcalf, another newbie in the Pittsburgh locker room, 4 receptions, 83 yards on 7 targets. His longest was 31 yards. Warren, 11 attempts at rushing, 37 yards. Aaron Rodgers, I don't know if this is a sack stat or if he actually tried to run the ball. He had 1 attempt to run the ball and had a negative 1 yard. This team is pulling in 53 rushing yards. Austin had 4 receptions for 70 yards. His longest was 30 for a grand total of 244 receiving yards. There was a fumble from Gainwell. He forced fumbled. So Juan Thornhill, 8 total tackles, 3 solo tackles. What is going on over there on the other side of the ball with the Jets and Justin Fields?
So this game can best be summarized by the ABCs sans the letter D. There was 0 defense in this game. It feels like, outside of the sacks, a 66-point game altogether with a thunderous comeback by the Pittsburgh Steelers in the 4th quarter. It was quite a spectacle to watch because they were down 26-17 coming into the 4th. The New York Jets played surprisingly well in this game on the offensive side of the ball. I've had a lot of faith in Justin Fields. I did not like him with Matt Eberflus in Chicago. I did not like him even with Coach Tomlin in Pittsburgh. I don't feel like those are his kind of guys. I think he finds a home here in New York. 16 of 22, 218 yards, a passing touchdown. That to Garrett Wilson, who had 7 receptions, 95 yards. Let's talk the big stat here. Rushing. Breece Hall, a proven workhorse, 19 carries, 107 yards. The New York Jets had more total yards, very slightly had less passing yards. That obviously due to the fact of sacks. Let it show that in the NFL, sacks count toward pass yards, not rush yards. So that and then rushing yards, the New York Jets ran for 182 yards to the Pittsburgh Steelers 53 yards. They played the better game, but that Pittsburgh team is they just don't have any quit in them. Let's take a quick look at the rest of the breakdown for the New York Jets on that stat line. Justin Fields himself carried the ball 12 times, 48 yards, 2 rushing touchdowns to go with his passing touchdown. And running back Braylon Allen, 6 carries, 9 yards, and a touchdown for him. Breece Hall out of the backfield catching the ball, 2 receptions for 38 yards. Tyler Johnson, 2 for 31. Mason Taylor had a big catch in this game. A 1 yard or a single catch, but it was for 20 big yards. I think it was a 3rd down conversion as well. So it was an impact play on the game. I think it kept them ahead and kept their time of possession way up. Josh Reynolds and Jeremy Ruckert both had 2 catches. Josh Reynolds with 18 yards, Jeremy Ruckert with 16 yards. The defense, as you said, totaling 4 sacks on Aaron Rodgers. Quincy and Quinnen Williams, the brothers, each tallying a sack, and Will McDonald IV from the nose tackle position, tallying 2 of those. So for me, like I said, I loved this game. I loved to look up and see that the Jets and the Steelers were competitive again. as much as it grinds my gears that the Steelers are going to be competitive every year, 3 head coaches in history, by the way. They've only ever had 3. That to me is a mind-blowing stat.
And 6 Super Bowls to go betwixt them.
6 Super Bowls, you guys. 6 of them. That's an insane stat to think about. The Jets turning a corner, I feel like they can contend if there's this scrap for second place in the AFC East. If the Dolphins can get healthy, I think the AFC East is the second best division in football. If they cannot, and there's a scrap, I think the Jets and the Patriots are 2 and 3. Obviously, everybody's bringing up the rear on the Bills. The Bills have the best roster, the best team, the best coaching, and the best front office in that division. But the Jets are coming along nicely, as evidenced by this game, this heart attack game that came all the way down to the last seconds.
Yeah, I like the game. Again, love to see Aaron Rodgers doing his thing. In their last meeting,
it was a 60-yard field goal. It was a 60-yard field goal, too, to seal this game.
A massive field goal, too. That is a long ways to go. In their last meeting, when these two quarterbacks were on the opposite teams they were in this meeting, the Steelers won 37-15 back in October 20th of 2024. And, I think those two quarterbacks went to where they were supposed to go, which is a good segue. Speaking of quarterbacks going to a different team, we got none other than the New York Giants versus the Washington Commanders. What did you think about this monstrous showing for the Washington Commanders?
For me, if you look at this game, I think that the Commanders dominated the defensive and special teams side of the football all game long. Do I think that they outplayed on offense? I also believe that as well, and here's how I will back that up. 432 total yards, 212 yards passing, 220 yards rushing for the Commanders, doubling up basically every stat by the New York Giants. The Commanders' defense only giving up 231 yards. That is incredible defensive play. I feel like they've just holding an offense that contains Russell Wilson and Malik Nabers. Now, do I think Andrew Thomas had some play in this? Slightly. I do think that Andrew Thomas does make a difference not being out there on the field. Do I think that he is the 2 sacks? No, those 2 sacks came both up the middle and from the right side of the line, not the left side where he would normally be starting. So I saw a game that, albeit not as efficient on third down as you would like to see, and that's something that the Commanders were very high on doing coming into this season. They had a mediocre third down percentage last year, middle of the pack. What sticks out the most to me, outside of no turnovers on either side of the ball, 12 penalties for 89 yards. It was undisciplined, silly football in a couple of cases. But we saw some things that I think made a world of difference. I know how long you have been waiting to break this game down, so do me one favor, friend. Let's break down these Commander stat lines.
So, for the Commanders, again, 233 yards passing, 220 yards rushing. Deebo Samuel, a great showing in his first game. 7 receptions, 77 yards, 10 targets. Zach Ertz made it to the end zone with only 26 yards on 3 receptions and a very early missed catch at the beginning of the game. Kind of had me a little worried. Terry McLaurin only seen 2 catches out of 4 targets for 27 yards. My man got a lot of cardio. we've seen two people go down in this game, Micah McFadden and Will Harris. So I don't know how that's going to play out.
The game, by the way.
He did?
Yes.
Okay. I don't know how that Michael McFadden injury is going to affect the Giants, but he did go down fairly early in the game. But as you said, that Washington defense and that a fantastic goal line stand, not once, but twice in the same thing.
They had 8 opportunities at the end zone in a single possession and got 0 points from it.
And if I'm not mistaken, it was red zone the entire time. Not to mention, I think, within 10 yards the entire time. Within 15 for sure. And they stopped them on 8 chances. And I believe almost blocked that field goal. I do have an issue with Washington not saving the timeout at the end of the half. I feel like you could have been more conservative, hurry up, spike the ball, just do things that you wouldn't be forced to do when it really matters. I feel like if they got down there, they could have called the timeout and not been forced to have the intentional grounding call, which does run out the clock and does finish the half for them. And it did happen exactly that way. Again, I feel like we should have saved the timeout. And at the end of the fourth quarter, they did the exact same thing. But luckily, we're up 21-6. Doesn't really matter. My question to you is, how much can Washington improve before tomorrow's game, given that it's such a short week?
I think the big thing as far as improvement is just being consistent and minimizing penalties. The penalties shot them in the foot so heavily it cost them points on 2 or 3 drives. I think if you rein that in, you have a not 100% Micah Parsons, a Packers defense that was playing at the top of its game and playing angry because of how people were talking about the Lions versus the Packers coming into the season. I think as long as Washington reins that in, there's no major injuries along the offensive line. There's no real major injuries. A lot of people got rest on Tuesday. Some people got some rest on Wednesday. There's only 2 players with designation on the injury report right now, both questionable. But I don't see it being the worst game. I actually see this game coming up, which we will review after our late games. I don't see this being a major hiccup for either team. I see this as a highly contested game. I see it closer than both the Commanders and Packers games ended this week. In my opinion, I think that Washington just has to find a way to get the offense going a little bit better. Find your weapons. Obviously, Debo had a great game. There is a certain play that I want to talk about here. 2 certain plays that I want to talk about here in just a second. But Debo had a great game. I think if you can get Terry incorporated in this and then I get a little more Zach Ertz, I think they'll be just fine. However, one player that I see consistently developing, and I think he's going to have a big game next week, but he had a big game this week against the New York Giants as well, and that is my man, Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt. We call him Bill. We love Bill Merritt here in the D.C. area. How about Bill? The runs that he produced, legs churning, what would have been 1 or 2 yard gains got turned into 3 and 4 yard gains. He played like he has the caliber to be an NFL running back, and he was drafted 245th overall in the 7th round of this past year's NFL draft.
Dude, I love seeing my boy Bill Merritt. 10 attempts at 82 yards, 1 touchdown, and it's a testament to the kid. I mean, he comes into the league. You know, he gets drafted so late. He comes to Washington. Washington says, hey, we're going to give you a chance. He plays the preseason, lights out in the preseason, you know, and they seen something in him. Now, me being the loyal Commander fan that I am, I seen the Brian Robinson Jr. trade. I was confused. That's our guy. Like, where are you going? And this game right here shows exactly why we have a fantastic front office in that organization now. See you, Dan Snyder. How you doing, Josh Harris? Thank you for coming. We appreciate it. Adam Peters, Dan Quinn have something brewing in this organization that you just don't see. And we haven't seen it for quite a while. So happy we got Bill Merritt. He came in. He runs the ball like he knows what he's doing. Like he's not some rookie kid. It kind of points back a little bit at Jaden. Now they're drafting sections where, you know, off whatever. But you have a rookie who's coming in acting like a professional, and I hope to see this again next week. Again, he 10 attempts, 82 yards, completely exploding over Austin Eckler, who had 6 attempts for 26 yards. He rushed for more yards than Austin rushed and received combined.
Here's a big stat, too. I want everyone to know. Austin Eckler, on his 6 attempts, his 6th attempt was a 16-yard run. So all of his work was done on 1 rush as well. Not impactful, but I think what a lot of people saw the confusion, and I honestly think this is what confused the Giants as well. They released the Week 1 depth chart, and Bill Merritt was 4th on the depth chart. He was below Jeremy McNichols. He was below Chris Rodriguez Jr., who ended up sitting out. Austin Eckler got the starting nod in this game, and I think that threw the Giants off. I always expected Bill to be a major part of this game, though.
Bill Merritt, like I said, you go back and look at what he did in the preseason, and then you go back and look at what he did in this game. It's like he's playing third when he is running the rock. It's like he's playing third and fourth string players, like he did in the preseason. You love to see the way he moves. He finds that gap, A gap, C gap, B gap. He finds them, and he extends the play. If it's gonna be a 1 or 2 yards normally, he's gonna make it 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 yards at a time, or even his longest, a 42-yard run, which was supposed to be get run in. It's the end of the game. Do this. Nah, he said, nope. I'm not gonna do just little 4-yard play to where we can get victory formation. He went 42 yards. This man is a beast. Love to see him in the backfield. I can't wait to see more. I'm so excited for tomorrow's game. Don't call me. Don't talk to me. I'm busy with football tomorrow. Washington took the lead Sunday, and they never looked back. And I have a question for you.
Sure.
2, actually. 1, what can New York do to fix what they have going on over there? And the second one's kind of a 2-part question. Is Jackson Dart the solution? And when do you start him?
So, to answer part 1, I think they have to get back to the culture, especially on the defensive side of the ball, that they had 2 years ago when Wink Martindale was running that defense. They had a very high pressure rate. They were forcing turnovers. You can watch the parlay into last season with their new defensive coordinator, and they're not forcing offensive hands the same way that they used to. And they have one of the best defensive lines in football. You have Brian Burns, Abdul Carter, Dexter Lawrence II. Those are all guys. Those are dudes. Those are dudes that you want on your team. Did they get to Jaden? Yes, they got to Jaden 3 times. on an offense that has a rookie and a backup on that offensive line. I feel like Josh Connerly handled himself very well against the assignments that he had. He gave up the one sack. Nick Allegretti gave up a sack, and there was a coverage sack. So that's a lot of what I think is part of the solution for the Giants. If they can get back to pressuring the quarterback, if they can get back to creating turnovers, there's a lot of talent on that Giants defense. I just don't think that the talent that they have fits the scheme they've been thrust into. And I think Brian Daboll has to look inward on that as well. I think he has to be like, okay, where do the changes come from? And offensively, to answer your second question, I think Jackson Dart, regardless of how this season plays out, is learning more being behind a Super Bowl winning, consistent playoff caliber future Hall of Famer in Russell Wilson than he would being on the field. I don't see anyone really in the Jets coaching staff, as evidenced with Daniel Jones. I don't see anyone to really mold and form a quarterback any better than just having him watch Russ do it. Russell Wilson still extremely resilient. No touchdowns, but no turnovers. There were people in his face all day, though. They had 7 hits on Russ. Dorrance Armstrong and Deron Payne both came through with sacks. There were pressures everywhere, though. Frankie Louvu with pressure. Dietrich Wise with pressure. Bobby Wagner with pressure. Von Miller with a pressure. Jerzon Newton. Johnny Newton up the middle with pressure. There was just a lot of dudes in his face all day, and it's hard to win football games like that. And he took some shots. He took probably 4 or 5 good shots in that game. So if they can keep Russell Wilson upright and get back to the aggressiveness that they had on defense, the New York Giants could probably turn this season around. But it's gonna take some things. Now, a couple of things that are, two things in particular that I want to talk about really quickly on the Commanders side of the ball. Sorry, you guys, we are Commanders fans. We're going to spend most time on the Commanders in this particular game breakdown. I want to talk about the Chris Moore toe tap on the sideline for first down on a major third down in the first half. Beautiful throw, beautiful catch. Came off of the practice squad. He was called up on from the practice squad on Wednesday. He had half a week of practice with the team. Comes in. Now, granted, he did have a full preseason with the guys, so there's some continuity there. That's why he landed back on the practice squad. They like him a lot. Came right up and had a huge catch, very impactful catch. But the person that I think deserves the most credit in this game that I'm not hearing enough of is John Bates, tight end, number 87 for the Washington Commanders. And that is because he is, in my opinion, quietly a top 5 blocking tight end in the NFL. If you look at both of Bill Merritt's big-time runs, his touchdown and his 42-yard scamper in the fourth quarter, both of those were facilitated by a John Bates block. He floats up and blocks Abdul Carter to set the edge for Bill Krosky-Merritt on his first NFL touchdown. Beautiful block. He actually fakes the safety, Holland. I'll remember his name in a bit. I think it's Javon Holland. For the New York Giants, actually fakes him on a block, causes a hesitation, and then shoots in and blocks the linebacker. And Bill, with incredible vision and incredible burst, right through the gap, up the sideline, 42 yards. And here's what I see in JaCorey Krosky-Merritt. I see the vision and footwork of LaDainian Tomlinson and the resilience and grit of an Adrian Peterson or a Ricky Williams. If you go back and you watch the way if you go back and you watch the way he played at New Mexico State, you don't see a lot. He only played one game with Arizona last year in college, um, enough for Washington to take a flyer on him. One game.
Yeah.
But if you watch the way he runs, he has his head on a swivel. He has fantastic eyes, and he's sure of his cuts. When he puts his foot in the ground, he knows where he's going, and he does it so convincingly with his hips and the way that he uses his footwork that the defender in front of him does not.
Right.
I love that about his game. I think being with a back like Austin Eckler, and even a veteran journeyman like Jeremy McNichols, it's going to serve him very well, and I can't wait to see how it goes.
I can almost see those two kind of molding Bill Merritt into like a combination of them, because you've seen him at least go out for passes and such. I'm not sure if he caught one or not. He was targeted once.
Catches.
He was targeted once for a pass. I don't know what happened. Maybe it broke up or something. But
I think it was batted down at the line by Brian Burns.
Yeah. So I think he's going to end up fitting a sort of receiving elusive power back kind of thing, like a hybrid. I see him doing that. He runs quick. He like you said, he's sure of his cuts. He knows where he's going to go before he does it. And he can kind of envision what he's going to do before it happens. So I love this kid, and like I said earlier, I'm really pumped to see what he does for the remainder of the season. So I'm excited to see what kind of role he takes. I wonder if he'll take over Austin Eckler as starter. A bit of a far-fetched thing there, but it's possible. Or will he just be one of those guys they call in?
I think if you look at it over the course of the first 4 to 6 weeks, I think depending on his production, they want him to start at some point in time. Now, neither Dan Quinn nor Adam Peters has just flat out came out and say that. They have a lot of money invested in Austin Eckler. So, but they also know that he is on the back end of his career. Eck knows that as well. I think he enjoys the mentor role a lot. He took that role up with Brian Robinson in his year with him last year. So I think it totally hinges on performance, but if he's coming out and he's putting up 80 yards a game and a touchdown, come the middle of the season, come crunch time, I would say possibly by the time they play Dallas or Kansas City the first time, that's where we'll see Bill Merritt as starter for the Washington Commanders in the backfield.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. Now the Giants do not have any easier of a road in front of them, especially if they can't get things under control over there in New York. They got the Cowboys at week 2, which is going to be a tough game for them, especially if they played like they did last week. They got the Chiefs the following week, which we both know is going to be a tough game. And they got the team that beat the Chiefs in the Chargers for week 4. A rough road ahead of them, especially if they can't. There's going to be a lot of people that does not want to watch that game. I, Absolutely. For one, am going to love watching it, except for next week's. Hail to the Commanders. Anyhow, I hope they both lose. But
so the upcoming schedule for the Washington Commanders, speaking of upcoming schedules, obviously we have tomorrow night's game at 7:15 Eastern time against the Green Bay Packers. I will be tuning into that game from work when it starts. I don't care what they say. I can be mid-selling a car. I'm stopping what I'm doing watching football. Football has my heart.
We'll get to you later.
Yeah, that Packers game is going to be something to behold.
Absolutely.
After that, parlaying into week 3, they have the Vegas Raiders in Washington. They travel to Atlanta for week 4. Now, Washington has a notably tougher schedule than they did last year. Last year, their strength of schedule was 17th out of 32. In the first 8 games, they have the Giants, the Green Bay Packers, the Las Vegas Raiders, the Atlanta Falcons. In week 5, the first weekend of October, they have the LA Chargers in LA. They have to travel across the country. Then they host the Chicago Bears in week 6. I will be tuning into that game too. There's also the Dallas Cowboys in Dallas on week 7, and then traveling to Kansas City week 8 to play the Kansas City Chiefs in prime time on Monday Night Football.
Ugh.
So the first half of the season is not easy sledding. The second half does not look any easier. They have Detroit, Denver, and then both Philadelphia games in the second half of the season as well. They are currently predicted to have the 7th hardest strength of schedule. That is twice as hard as their schedule was last year. I have a lot of faith in this team, the way that they played, and more namely, 2 guys who are up for new contracts, Dorrance Armstrong and Deron Payne, played like they were in contract years. Those guys were after it, multiple run stops, multiple times in Russell Wilson's face all day. That defense looked better than I've seen it in a long time.
Okay.
Do I think there are some things that need tied up? They did give up a couple of big passes. They let a really big one go to Wan'Dale Robinson in the third quarter. They also had a really big one for a first down in the fourth quarter from Malik Neighbors. But that defense is tough. If they tie all the pieces together, it's gonna be a defense like that of the 1991 Washington team. That defense was one of the best in the NFL, and I think the year that they won that Super Bowl, it was the best defense in the NFL. So, tying together offensive cohesiveness and eliminating penalties, and this team, I believe, can hang with anyone in the NFL.
I 100% agree. Marshawn Lattimore held Malik Neighbors to 71 yards. Again, I think
that's a team effort. That was actually
that was a
Trey
team.
Amos, Mike Sainer still. Marshawn Lattimore actually held him to 2 catches for 24 yards.
Yeah, so as a team, only 71 yards for Neighbors, which is fantastic considering that you had a rookie on him.
Trey Amos spent most of that game on him.
Yeah, and the longest reception he had was 25 yards. That was his biggest catch, and I believe it had a 24-yard after catch on that one. So it was more of I think it was like a man-to-man issue there. That might have been the play that they ran into each other.
It was a man screen. I think they were the defense was playing man, and they ran a screen, and that never spells very good for the defense. They kind of wager on you playing man whenever they option into screens like that. Malik Neighbors just beat his dude. They audibled out of the screen, and he just got on top of Trey Amos. It was a well-contested ball. Like, it was a very well-thrown ball, but Trey Amos did play good defense on it, but it's just
Malik Neighbors.
Malik Neighbors being the freak of nature that he is in all of the best ways. Like, it was a very fun game to watch as a Commanders fan, because obviously the final score 21-6.
Division game.
But
screw them.
But I would like to see the Giants correct some things, because I just want our Washington Commanders to beat every team at full strength.
Oh yeah, absolutely, and at their best that they can get at as well. And what they have right now cooking is just not happening. It's not working. So to parlay into the rest of the second half of this episode, we got Denver versus Tennessee. What did you like about this game? What did you not like?
I can tell you what I liked about this game. And what I liked about this game is Denver being resilient. Head coach Sean Payton, all of his years in New Orleans, winning the Super Bowl with Drew Brees, and being a perennial playoff contender for his duration of his time down there in Nolans. I like seeing what he has brought to Denver, and I think he is going to be very good for quarterback Bo Nix. I enjoyed watching Bo Nix play this football game. I think he got a little bit creative on his 2 interceptions. He was trying to operate outside of his means, which he did a lot of in college, and it was very successful. But this is the NFL. These guys you're doing it against the best of the best. That's why you're 1 of 32. So 25 of 40, 176 yards. The touchdown to Cortland Sutton, which, by the way, was a stud muffin of a pass. But I enjoyed watching them labor under head coach Sean Payton. They did absolutely dominate the Tennessee Titans. 317 total yards to 133. They outpassed them by 104 yards, and they outrushed them by 80. Almost doubling up on their yards per play. Denver was averaging 4.5, and Tennessee a minuscule 2.4. I also thoroughly enjoyed how much Denver was getting to Cameron Ward. Now, I love Cameron Ward, and I think he is going to be a stud quarterback in this league for a long time. But Denver was after him. They sacked him 6 times, forcing 8 punts on defense. They were playing good football.
Absolutely. Denver is, they're a tough team, especially on that defense. PS2, I mean, they got guys in places out there. The only thing that plagued Denver in this game was the amount of fumbles. We have a fumble from Mims and a fumble from Bo Nix, which I believe
4 turnovers in this game.
Yeah,
they lost the turnover margin. They were -2 turnover margin. Lost 2 fumbles.
And then
2
2
interceptions thrown.
Yep. So again, there's some things that Denver has to fix, and that being one of them. Going over to the Titans, Cameron Ward, 12 for 28, 112 yards, and that's not the greatest numbers, but if you look at how many times he was also sacked, it kind of brings him up just a little bit. It is a somewhat struggling Tennessee team. They did not do much better last year. I can't even remember the mayonnaise boy, what we called him. Can't remember his name, but he does put mayonnaise in his coffee. Don't ask me why. This one is more towards the running. Not much passing done. 112 yards passing, 71 yards rushing. That is more. Is over half of the total yards in just rushing. 18 attempts by 60 yards by Tony Pollard. And he had 1 fumble in that as well. And so did Cameron Ward. I'm assuming that this is a sack fumble. 0 attempts, 0 yards, 0 touchdowns, all that stuff. 1 fumble added on to it. He did not throw any touchdowns, but he also didn't throw any interceptions either. I believe,
which is my silver lining for him, to not turn the ball over in that way against that stout Denver secondary. That's a kudo to him. Very good job by the rookie.
Absolutely. I believe all of their points came from their kicker. I'm going to say Joe Sly? Jace, whatever his name is. Sly.
Joey Sly.
There you go.
Former
Right,
Washington
Joe.
Commander.
Sly had 4 field goals, and his longest was 50 yards. And that really sums up this game. Just a dominant performance. A somewhat dominant performance by the Broncos. They're the only ones who really did any doings of the touchdowns. Touchdown in the second quarter and touchdown in the fourth, being backed by 2 field goals, one in the first and one in the third, while the Tennessee Titans had 1 field goal in the first, 2 field goals in the second, 1 field goal in the third, and 0 points in the fourth quarter. And if I have to be honest with you, man, I do not believe that their last outing was very well either. The Titans overcame the Broncos 17-10 in 2022. I do not remember who their quarterback was then either.
The Titans, their quarterback was Ryan Tannehill, and the Denver Broncos, their quarterback was, if I am not mistaken, I think that was the year that Russ got traded.
That makes sense. The Tennessee Titans do not have any better of the next 3 weeks. Going against the Rams this Sunday, going against the Colts in week 3. And Daniel Jones is going to have another party. He's going to show up like Kirk Cousins. Remember when Kirk Cousins had that big chain on after he got traded to the Vikings?
Man.
That's going to be Daniel Jones.
We love Kirko chains.
And then in week 4, he goes against C.J. Stroud over there. So Tennessee has a tough schedule. Would you like to run us through Denver's?
Absolutely. Now, Denver does not get a break. They have the daunting task of traveling to Lucas Field and facing off with that incredible Indianapolis Colts defense and that apparently newly rejuvenated Danny Dimes Indianapolis Colts offense. That game is this Sunday. Then they turn right around and travel from Denver to Los Angeles to face off against the LA Chargers. That is another game that's going to be very tough for the Denver Broncos. That Chargers team is looking incredible. And then they turn around and host the Cincinnati Bengals on Monday Night Football in Week 4. So their next 3 games are also no gimmies. I look forward to seeing how Denver approaches these games and how they plan on fixing and cleaning up some of the mistakes that they did incur this season opening game against the Tennessee Titans. Moving along, we have a game that I thought was honestly going to be a little more score heavy. We have the San Francisco 49ers beating the Seattle Seahawks in Seattle 17-13. Brock Purdy performed in this game. He did have 2 interceptions, which I feel like was part of the reason that the game did not go exactly how they planned. However, he is currently listed on the injury report from that game with toe and shoulder injuries. So, he is also a long shot to play in their Week 2 game. Per head coach Kyle Shanahan this morning, he is a long shot to play. If he does not go, Mac Jones will go. But the game that he did play in, he played well. 26-35, 277 yards, 2 scores. But he did throw the 2 picks. The run game, no slouch. There was they had plenty of production from the run game. Christian McCaffrey obviously toting the load. 22 carries, 69 yards. Brian Robinson Jr. getting his first touches out in San Francisco, 9 for 33. And Brock Purdy bringing it along himself, 5 of those carries for 17 yards. Here is where I saw a big, interesting development. Ricky Pearsall, their second-year wide receiver, 4 receptions, 108 yards. Their second leading receiver was Christian McCaffrey, 9 for 73. Jawan Jennings currently also listed on the injury report. George Kittle also on the injury report. That wide receiver room and tight end room are devastated. at the moment, and I do not think it plays well for San Francisco. Good old reliable Kyle Juszczyk catching two balls for 32 yards. So they're getting production. However, the injury train is rolling through San Francisco. Jauan Jennings, shoulder. George Kittle, hamstring. Brock Purdy, the toe and the shoulder. It is not looking good out there. I think the return of Kendrick Bourne, which is part of the reason I wanted to cover this side of this game. Kendrick Bourne did make his decision yesterday. He is re-signing 1 year, up to $6 million with the San Francisco 49ers on a prove-it deal, going back home where he started his career. And I think it's going to be very, very well timed for either Brock Purdy or Mac Jones, who ends up starting next week's game.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, here's the big thing. Kittle is on IR. He will have 4 weeks minimum of being away. So you have to take a look. Who do you think is going to be in that position for him? Do you think that B-Rob will be in any more involved than he has as of late? And do you think that Purdy will miss more than 1 week? Or do you think it'll be possibly a couple weeks if he misses any at all?
According to head coach Kyle Shanahan, he is hopeful to have Brock Purdy this week. However, he does feel that he is week to week, so they are not putting a definitive timeline on him. They think that they can have him back this week. If not, he will be back next week. As far as George Kittle's absence on this, I see there being a committee of guys moving in, trying to take some of those reps. Backup tight ends Jake Tonjes and Luke Farrell will get some of that. They will obviously rely on reliable Kyle Juszczyk to get some of that. He can be H-back, he can be fullback. He can get down there on the line and block like a tight end. Still a big-bodied guy, 6'3", 240. You like to have guys like Kyle Juszczyk in your organization because he is so versatile. He can run the ball and he can catch the football. I think that's how they supplement that. Jauan Jennings, the only thing that I can see as far as someone stepping up in that role, it's going to have to be Kendrick Bourne. He's going to have to come along a lot faster than he probably wants to. You're obviously going to get your Christian McCaffrey catches. Brian Robinson Jr. has good hands. He can help out of the backfield. But that receiving room being decimated and only continuing to be decimated does not bode well. I do want to say that there was a quote. Yes, here it is. The Niners took another hit late in their game at Seattle with Jennings exiting due to a shoulder issue. The Fox broadcast out there actually said that he could barely lift his arm. All of this per Adam Schefter through ESPN. So it is possible that wide receiver number 1, along with tight end number 1 and quarterback number 1 being out going into next week's game, because this was such a brutal, daunting game. But let's get to the other side, and let's talk about how Sam Darnold did, partner. Take it away.
Sam Darnold, 16 for 23, 150 yards, no touchdowns, but also no interceptions, and he'd only been sacked 1 time. Unfortunately, that leaves a lot of the workload on a guy like Cabernet, I will say. Charbonnet. 12 attempts for 47 yards rushing, 1 touchdown. His longest rush was 7 yards, which was kind of surprised because Walker did so good last year. I remember in fantasy, I think him alone beat my team like twice.
We do like Kenneth Walker the third.
10 attempts, 20 yards, no touchdowns. He didn't really do a whole lot. Sam Darnold getting after it on the ground. 2 attempts, 14 yards, averaging 7, obviously, and his longest was 9. Jackson Smith and Jigba caught most of the passes and uh, almost all of the receiving yards. 9 receptions on 13 targets, 124 yards. His longest was a 40-yard reception and 29 yards after the catch. Cooper Kupp didn't do much either. 2 receptions, 15 yards. So, I mean, you look at this. Sam Darnold fumbled and Jackson Smith and Jigba fumbled. They were both lost fumbles. They were not recovered by the Seahawks. And it makes it a clear-cut reason why the 49ers won. However, the score does not show that. I feel like the score definitely, with those 2 takeaways, should have been a lot higher. I mean, that's more of like a 28-14 type of stat sheet there, but not the case. In their last meeting out, the Seahawks barely squeaked by last year, November 16th. 20-17 win. Again, barely squeaking by. And they were barely beaten this time by 4 points. Now, the Seahawks are looking to go against, 1 second here. And the next 3 weeks, the Seahawks have Aaron Rodgers and the Steelers this week. They have a bit of an easier game in the Saints, unless the Saints can get everything packed together. And then another, again, easier-ish game against the Cardinals, unless the Cardinals or the Seahawks get everything together. Then it's not going to be something too fond of for me to watch. But those are the games for the Seahawks, and I'll let you take it away for the Niners.
So the upcoming games for the San Francisco 49ers, and I think this is, if they can get healthy after week 2, I think they can perform pretty well in weeks 3 and 4. They are heading to New Orleans this Sunday to take on the Saints. I personally believe that a banged-up 49ers team is still better than a healthy New Orleans Saints team. I don't see this being the biggest hurdle, especially having both of their star running backs to take away some of the burden of the injuries out wide, and also getting Kendrick Bourne back. I think that also helps a ton. Then they parlay into 2 home games. They are hosting the Arizona Cardinals in week 3 out there in San Fran, and then the Jacksonville Jaguars come to town. So I think they have a couple of get-right games here. Not taking away from any of these organizations. I do think Arizona is their biggest challenge here, which is why being healthy going into week 3 is the biggest thing. Outside of George Kittle, I think they can achieve that. As you stated, George Kittle on IR, he's out for at least 4 weeks. Short-term IR, though, is a positive sign, especially for hamstring. We know that he does have a little bit of issue with his legs occasionally. So hopefully he can get right in this divisional game coming into week 5 with the Rams. Hopefully that it'll be able to be fully contested.
I absolutely agree. And that is a good way to segue into the Rams versus Texans. Let me know what's going on down there in Houston.
So this game was surprisingly low scoring, given just how much these offenses brought to the table. CJ Stroud played a phenomenal game, save for 1 errant throw. 19 of 27, 188 yards. The 1 pick, he did not reach the end zone, though. They did have a lot of faith in Nick Chubb getting back to his former glory, carrying the rock 13 times for 60 yards. The pass distribution was, it was very spread out. Jaden Higgins carrying the brunt of the load, 2 receptions for 32 yards. Xavier Hutchinson right behind that, 2 receptions for 30 yards. Dalton Schultz off of the line at tight end, getting 3 receptions for 28 yards. Those are the top 3 receivers for the day for our guy, CJ Stroud. Just a tough day. tough day. That Rams defense was playing phenomenal, only allowed them to score 9 points. I would have liked to see a little more cohesiveness. It was a lot of penalties. They did get flagged 11 times to the tune of 80 yards. They turned the ball over twice. They won the time of possession battle. They did have the ball for 31 minutes and 25 seconds, but only 2 of 9 on third down. That's you don't win football games converting 2 third downs in an entire NFL football game. They gave up 3 sacks as well, but by and large, this was a very evenly contested game. 18 first downs for each team and 57 total plays for each team. So I think it came down to turnovers on the Houston Texans side. Not a bad played game, but mistakes being in crucial spots, I think, is what the damning thing was here.
Absolutely. And over on the Rams side of the ball, we have Matthew Stafford, 21 for 29, 245 yards, 1 touchdown, no interceptions, and sacked 3 times. Here's the big thing. Here's the big stat. Matthew Stafford in this game hit his 60,000-yard mark. Just a phenomenal number for a guy like Matthew Stafford. Spent most of his career in Detroit with Calvin Johnson. Spent a lot of time with him. A wonderful receiver. One of the guys who should have had a ring. But Matthew Stafford has since moved on from Detroit, come to the Rams, won a bowl against the Bengals, an early Joe Burrow. And now he lands here, 60,000-yard mark against none other than the Texans, who C.J. Stroud was is still a promising QB, a wonderful kid. 66 yards go to Williams at 18 attempts. 1 touchdown to him. That's his his stat. His longest reception was 9 yards. So a lot of poking the bear. As far as rushing goes, Matthew Stafford had 4 attempts at -2 yards. Total rushing yards is 72. Puka Nacua, one of the most amazing receivers you will see on the field. 10 receptions, 130 yards for 11 targets. Only did not get the ball to him 1 time. His longest reception is 25 yards, which makes what I said about Williams receiving the ball sound dumb. Davante Adams?
Davante Adams out there in L.A. with Matt Stafford.
4
the grandpa duo.
I mean, 2 people who are getting old just connecting like the old days. It kind of smells like a campfire. It sounds like a little pipe in their mouth. Like, come on. 51 yards, and his longest is 24 with 8 yards after the catch with that one-handed ball hoisted. Love seeing Davante Adams play. Glad he got out of Las Vegas. I mean, he himself said he was going to get hurt there if he continued to stay. Glad to see him get away from the Jets he was at last season?
He was. He called them a lot of medicine balls out there in Las Vegas, taking clear shots at his former quarterback, Jimmy Garoppolo. So I agree with him. If you watch the Netflix documentary series Receiver, you see a lot of that. Everybody thought there was going to be this sweetheart reunion with him and Aaron Rodgers out in New York last season. It did not go the way that they expected it to. They part ways once again. Obviously, Aaron lands in Pittsburgh. Davante comes all the way across the country, back home to the West Coast. Lands in L.A. with a guy he's got a lot of respect for, Matt Stafford. So I love to see it.
Here's where I think this game went wrong for the Texans. First quarter, 13 plays, 62 yards. 7 minutes are spent with the Texans until only end up with a field goal. That is the only scoring drive that happened in that quarter. Then the second quarter comes around. Again, the next scoring drive for the Texans, right off the bat, 10 plays, 19 yards. Only 19 yards. Held the ball for 5 minutes and 25 seconds to only get a field goal. Meanwhile, you give the ball to the Rams, 14 plays, 65 yards, 3 minutes. What does the Texans do? 9 plays, 42 yards, 53 seconds, and a field goal. So no touchdowns to go around in Houston. And with that being said, Houston has a rocky road ahead of them. They play the Buccaneers next week, and a healthy Buccaneers team is not one you want to deal with. Luckily for them, Chris Godwin will still be out. Then they go on down, and they play
Emeka Egbuka.
Yeah, Emeka Egbuka in the Buccaneers is a beast. Then they go down to Miami to play the Jaguars, Jacksonville, not Miami. They go to Jacksonville to play the Jaguars. And that Jaguars team last week, I mean, they were hitting on all cylinders. The only break they seem to be getting in the next few weeks is against the Titans, unless the Titans can pull it together. Well, and then you hate to see it, man. Feel bad for them. Past
they have
that,
a lot of talent.
Past that week is a rough game for them in the Baltimore Ravens. As long as they can finish out a game, they will be fine. And then an early bye in Week 6, followed by the Seattle Seahawks, 49ers, Broncos, Jaguars, Tennessee Titans, Bills, only to end the season against a flex game against none other than Danny Dimes. And you hope to the Lord that one is not a game they have to play, because my boy Danny Jones is going to be out there partying. Telling you, you're going to see a chain with it. You're going to see a chain on his neck by the end of the season. He keeps playing like this.
Daniel Jones with a 5 o'clock shadow and that mean look in his eye is a completely different Daniel Jones than suited up in number 8 for the New York Giants. But let's break down this Rams schedule for the next few weeks. They travel to Nashville to play the Tennessee Titans this Sunday, and they're staying on the East Coast. Week 3, they have a face-off with the Philadelphia Eagles. So that's no gimme right there. They're going to have a tough test immediately week 3. And in week 4, they are hosting those exact same Indianapolis Colts and Daniel Jones out there on the West Coast. It's going to be a tough game. It's going to be a fun one to watch, y'all. I will be doing all I can to tune into that particular contest because it's gonna be lightning. I'm excited to see it. Past that, they have San Francisco at Baltimore and then hosting the Jacksonville Jaguars. Technically, I believe this is the. Let me see here. This is a London game, so they will be technically the hosting team, but that game will be played in London for Week 7. Then they have a bye week in Week 8. And could not come at a better time because the second half of their schedule, a lot of away. They will be hosting New Orleans, at San Francisco, hosting Seattle and Tampa Bay, then at Carolina, at Arizona, hosting Detroit, and then at Seattle and Atlanta before they come back home to wrap up their season against the Arizona Cardinals in Week 18.
Rough going for the Rams, but again, this game was a lot less showing than I thought it would be. Moving on to
this is a game I know you've been waiting on, my guy.
The talk of the town. 2 division rivals. 2 teams who are just hitting it off to start the season. And arguably an upset win for none other than the Micah Parsons Green Bay Packers. I mean, somebody start the Micah wave, huh? Come on now. All right. To start off the game, 14 plays, 5 minutes, 68 yards. Touchdown Packers. Nothing to be answered from by the Lions. Packers come back, 7 plays, 36 yards, 2 minutes, 54 seconds for a field goal.
Of note, on that first Packers drive for the touchdown, that touchdown, 15 yards to Tucker Kraft from Jordan Love, 2 plays earlier. 2 plays earlier, there was some helmet grabbing and pushing, shoving by Detroit Lions safety Brian Branch, trying to assert some dominance, and then 2 plays later, Tucker Kraft over his head, and I want to say cornerback Jeff Okudah for the touchdown.
That kid is not a kid you want to be throwing hands with, that's for sure.
Tucker Kraft is a big dude. He is a large human being.
I mean, just go over your head and get one. Nasty. Jordan Love, 16 completions for 22 yards, 188 yards, 2 touchdowns. Josh Jacobs, 19 attempts at rushing, 66 yards, 1 touchdown, and his longest rush was 15 yards. Jordan Love taking the rock 3 times for 4 yards, and his longest one of those 3 was a 3-yard run. Romeo Doubs, 2 receptions, 68 yards, and his longest, 1 big chunk, 48 yards. Reed, 3 receptions, 45 yards, 1 tutty. The rookie kid, is it Michael? Michael Golden? Matthew Golden?
Matthew Golden. Oh, out there.
2 receptions, 16 yards, 2 targets. This kid in the preseason was just the best hands you could ask for on an offensive line. You don't want anything better than that. Did not drop a single pass that hit his hands, which goes back to what my dad used to say: if you hit your hands, you should have caught it. Josh Jacobs getting in there for 1 reception, 4 yards. And Tucker Kraft, of course, 2 receptions, 16 yards, and a tutty to seal the deal there. This team is amazing. Now, Micah Parsons. The stats do not show enough.
Of note, real quick, that Packers offense, not a single sack allowed against Aiden Hutchinson and company.
None. 0 sacks against one of the league's best edge rushers, and when he's healthy. This team, I'm telling you, they're cooking. They're cooking down there. They're cooking something up there in Green Bay. Micah Parsons, the stats do not show enough. Okay? Pro analysts have said this kid is going to be the biggest change, arguably starting the Micah Parsons era. So this guy, Micah Parsons, 1 sack, but he consistently was all over their quarterback all night long. And there's not really any way to handle him. Now, one would argue, well, he only had 1 sack. That's true. But he was all over Jared Goff all night long. This kid is going to be the game changer there.
And he only played approximately
29 snaps.
Approximately 35% of the defensive snaps. That's a telling stat. He got 1 sack in less game time than Edge Cooper and Quay Walker and Rashawn Gary. So a lot of people do not. I hope there is nobody out there after his first 4 years in Dallas that are underestimating Micah Parsons depending on what defense that he is in, because he will perform.
Absolutely. Now, the sad thing for you Packers fans, he is listed as questionable. We will get more on that as the day goes on tomorrow. We will find out if he's going to play, if he's not going to play. Head coach Dan Quinn of the Commanders actually recommends that the head coaches sit him. Now, whether he's saying that because we got to play him, or
I
he's
believe
giving genuine advice. And in a back injury like his, I would not want to play more than I have to. And it seems that Micah Parsons understands this by only playing 35% of the game. Here's some interesting news concerning this man. Jadeveon Clowney actually sits down with the Cowboys after this trade. As far as I know, they have not come to a deal yet, but it's interesting that he's down there now. And my only question: has the Micah Parsons era started?
the Micah Parsons era in the NFC North with the Green Bay Packers is going to be, for a very long time, likened to another very famous trade that they made in the very early 90s that landed them one Reggie White, who went on to play his best football in the green and maize. I just want you guys to know that. That is what this trade is being likened to. He is that caliber of a football player. And Jordan Love very much reminds me of a young Brett Favre. Gunslinger, super accurate. He is a lot smarter with the football. He does not have near the turnovers in his arm that Favre did. But that's a dangerous combination. That is a dangerous combination. But we're going to switch from the Packers to the Lions. I'm going to brief us on the Lions really quickly. They did not play bad football. They just did not play to the caliber of roster that they have. And NFL executives all offseason were saying that the Detroit Lions and the Buffalo Bills had the most complete rosters in the NFL. And I'm inclined to believe it because Jared Goff balled out. He only missed 8 passes, but one of them was to the Packers. 31 of 39, 225 yards, a touchdown, and an interception. But that is sadly where the offense ends. Their only other offense was 2 field goals. The run game was stifled. For everyone saying that Kenny Clark was the staple in that run defense, did not watch this football game. David Montgomery on 11 tries, 25 yards. Jahmyr Gibbs fared equally as abysmally, 9 for 19. And Jamison Williams on 1 rush on a sweep, 3 yards. Sam Laporta was unsurprisingly the biggest receiving threat in this game. I feel like the Packers have always had a problem with Sam Laporta, and when he's playing his best football, he is a top 10 tight end in the NFL. 6 receptions for 79 yards, averaging 13 to a catch. Amon-Ra St. Brown, I feel like also played, given how often the Green Bay Packers defense was in Jared Goff's face, I think Amon-Ra St. Brown played as good as could be expected. A couple of balls sailed on him. Not a lot that he could really do given just where all the checkdowns were. The Jared Goff had to check down 8 times in this game, and threw 2 screens to Jahmyr Gibbs. That was 10 receptions for 31 yards. He was his security blanket all game. There was really nowhere for him to go. That Packers defense played exceptional pass defense on the front and in the back all game long, which really stifled one of the league's best receiving corps. Jamison Williams only had 23 yards on 4 catches also in this game. But what stifles me the most is the lack of tackling by your pure tacklers on this defense for the Detroit Lions. Alex Anzalone had 3 combined tackles. He's an all-star linebacker. He had, I think, 112 last season. Aiden Hutchinson, not a single recorded tackle in this game. 2 quarterback pressures, no tackles. Very interesting thing to see. Other guys, Terry and Arnold on this defense, Brian Branch, Jack Campbell, those guys at corner, safety, and linebacker, did a lot of the carry as far as the tackling goes, which to me is another big thing. Kicker Jake Bates doing obviously most of the heavy lifting, accounting for more than half of the team's points with 2 field goals and a point after. I did not like what I saw from the Lions in this game. I feel like they looked rushed. The offensive line, which is one of the best offensive lines in football, looked almost out of sync in times, but it was a very closely contested game outside of yards per play. The Detroit Lions ran 65 plays to the Green Bay Packers 47, and they held the ball for 11 minutes longer. They had the ball for 35 minutes and 25 seconds, did the Detroit Lions, and almost nothing to show for it. Not a touchdown until the fourth quarter, and the game was out of hand at that point in time. I expect to see the Lions bounce back from this. I don't envy the spot that the Chicago Bears are in this coming Sunday, because I feel like that's going to be a motivated Detroit Lions team. They're in Ford Field. They're playing in front of their people. I don't like what's in store prospectively for the Chicago Bears this weekend.
Absolutely. And not only do you have a motivated team, but as of September 6th, your boy Jameson Williams got a nice payday. 3 years, $83 million extension, $67 million guaranteed. I believe this happened just after we ended our episode.
This happened 6 minutes before we ended our Saturday edition of Off the Bench. So, you guys, we are breaking news right here to you guys. Most of you already will know. It's the NFL. Those things break so fast. But yes,
Absolutely.
A huge extension in a contract year for one of the premier playmakers on that Detroit Lions offense.
Absolutely, absolutely. And he is going to be, he has $83 million to play harder, I guess. So I want to see more for him this week. I really do. I think this Lions team is still a great team. Let's see here. Who do we have? Do you want to break down who we have the Lions playing the rest of the time?
Yes. So, like I said, this Sunday, I am not envious of that Chicago Bears team. They go to Detroit to face those Lions. Week 3 is a Monday night matchup in Baltimore with the Baltimore Ravens for those Lions. Then they come back home. They play the Cleveland Browns. Then they go to Cincinnati and then to Kansas City. And then they come back home to face the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in week 7. Then they have their bye week. And then they are home against the Minnesota Vikings in a divisional matchup in week 9. They travel to Washington for week 10. Go Commanders. Left hand up.
Absolutely.
Then they travel to Philadelphia for week 11. They are home for 3 straight games against the Giants. The rematch against the Packers in week 13. And against the Dallas Cowboys on December 4th in week 14. Then they are away at the Rams, home versus the Pittsburgh Steelers, and then away for the Minnesota Vikings and their final game in Chicago for week 18.
Tough schedule going on for them. The Packers, on the other hand, play the greatest team in the NFL at the moment tomorrow, and the Washington Commanders. A little bias, but
no bias, all facts.
But they play Washington Commanders tomorrow for their Week 2 matchup. Then they travel on down for a real easy game, unless Joe Flacco has anything to say about it. Then the Cleveland Browns, and then to the Dallas Cowboys. Go Packers. Week 5 bye. Week 6 Bengals. Week 7 Cardinals. Week 8 Steelers. Week 9 Panthers. Week 10 Eagles. Go Packers. Week 10 11. or week 11. Giants. Gotta love that week 10, 11.
Go Pack, go in week 10, 11.
Yep, week 10 and week 11 as two NFC East teams, and go Packers. They faced the Vikings in 12, and in week 13, an interesting matchup where they will have a chance to redeem themselves. The Detroit Lions go against the Packers then, and then Bears, Broncos, Bears, Ravens, and then Vikings again at the end of the season. No shortage of competition there, except for week 11 and week 4. But, it is what it is. Moving on.
Speaking of competition, this next one was competitive. I said in the Steelers and Jets that there was no D in the alphabet because defense was non-existent, and I will say the exact same thing for this next contest. The Buffalo Bills eking out a 1-point win over the Baltimore Ravens on Sunday night. What a game. What a game. A lot of Ravens fans fell asleep and it was 40-25 and they woke up like, what in the heck happened? How did they lose this game? Partner, I will give you the choice of team for this one. You get to break down whichever side you would like.
My friend, I hate to do this to you, but I got to take the winners on this one. I got to take the Buffalo Bills. Look, man. Oh, shoot. Where did you go?
Benty, give me one moment here.
You are gone for me.
While we are waiting, I am going to check this. I would like to see this particular fact before we get back into this because it is very prevalent to the subject.
You know what? When you get back, I lied. I'm taking the Ravens. Unless you want the Ravens instead. Are you there? Hello? Oh, boy.
Do you have me on Discord?
I have you now.
All right, cool. Yeah, you have cut out of the collab game.
Yeah, you're not there either for me.
All right, hang on. I will do this. We're gonna disconnect from the host. Let me send you this. Oh, you already sent me one. That works even gooder.
Even gooder.
Perfect. Start.
There you are.
There we go. And we're back,
Oh,
folks.
I gotta mute you. Hold on a second. Got you twice. There we go. All right.
Beautiful. We are back,
Now.
folks. Sorry about that. One quick caveat to this game that I think the fans will enjoy before you take the winning Buffalo Bills under head coach John Harbaugh. The Baltimore Ravens have blown 17